I believe in trans. I want to make sure that kids are able to do this if they do feel comfortable. How would you like them to have empathy for you? What do they not understand about you as a parent? Like, these are the discussions I think a lot of times we don't have because there's this like dunk on culture.
Right.
So like, what is it you'd like someone in good faith? Right. They're not a psychopath. They're someone who's really trying to make the best decision.
Okay, so you said something earlier. You said, I think both sides care about kids. I don't know. I think the percentage would be more people on the right care for kids than those on the left.
Patrick Bet-David took Andrew Schultz to task on the PBD Podcast, and it was a moment many of us conservatives were waiting for. Schultz's woke take on parents of transitioning children ignited a firestorm, exposing a critical flaw in his often praised, abased persona. We'll dissect this clash and why it reveals a fundamental divide in understanding the challenges facing families today. Get ready for a no-holds-barred conservative perspective on this pivotal debate.
The other day that said, I feel sorry for the parents if a kid who they raise well later on transitions and becomes transgender. Okay?
If the kid, you feel sorry for the...
You raise them well, and then later on they're a kid when they transition, when they're a teenager, and I blame the parent. So to me, a part of what happened is in Hollywood, you're looking at all these guys and their kids are trans and it's like a competition. -2, -2, me too, me too, me too.
A lot of them.
So that's the pure pressure of being accepted. Then on the other side, when you're talking about empathy, I feel empathy for kids all the flipping time when I meet them. Because the kid is not yet fully developed. I'm like, dude, I truly feel bad for this kid.
Yep.
But he's not coming to, we're not raising him. He's going to go to those parents' house. And if you say something, the parents, you know, you're now in that, so you sympathize with the kid. You try to give some feedback to the parents if there's a relationship there. Typically, there's not. So then you're like, dude, I'm asked out. I really want to find a way to do something with this. I feel bad for the kid. And then on the other side, when you're like a parent comes up and a father came up to me, one of our neighbors, he says, hey, my son just told me this, and we're at dinner at Casa D'Angelo, Jennifer sitting right next to me. The man is crying. He's in his mid-50s. He's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And then I feel for him because he's not doing it. But the part about this that's the black and white, not the gray area.
All right, folks. Now, Schultz, who some have lauded lately for supposedly being based and calling out woke nonsense, found himself on the receiving end of a serious intellectual beatdown from PBD. And let me tell you, it was a long time coming. For those who might have missed it, the conversation centered largely around the issue of children and the transgender movement. Schultz apparently voiced something along the lines of feeling sorry for parents whose children later transition. Now, on the surface, you might think, okay, a little bit of empathy, right? But PBD, and frankly myself, saw right through the shallowness of that take. It's not about feeling sorry for parents who raised them well, only to see their child transition later. It's about understanding the complexities, the potential influences at play, and the fundamental role of parents in guiding their children.
We should have empathy. Even for this guy named McBride, we should have empathy for him. What caused him to get here? What happened with his upbringing with his parents?
Yeah.
What happened? I don't know. I feel bad. Like, even when the Chelsea Handler thing was going on, and, you know, she's talking shit to Adam, Adam's talking shit to Chelsea, the lifestyle she lives. And then you go and look it up, bro. She was 9 years old. Her love of her life was her older brother, 22 years old. He decides to go camping. He's climbing a mountain or whatever it is. He falls and he dies. Never comes home. Dad was, I believe, a car dealership salesman. And she is devastated. The house is devastated. She sees the most powerful man in her house, her father, not know how to handle it. Yeah, of course she's not going to want to have any kind of commitment. You know that kind of pain? These are the things we're not aware of. Yeah. We should have compassion. We should have empathy.
That's beautiful empathy.
Yeah, it's true empathy. You feel bad for it, right? But at the same time, that still doesn't justify me having to call you a man. My opinion.
Or what about the empathy towards someone in your position? Like, what would you want them to understand? What would you want someone operating in good faith? They think what they're trying to do is they're like, you know, I believe in trans. I want to make sure that kids are able to do this if they do feel comfortable. How would you like them to have empathy for you? What do they not understand about you as a parent? Like, these are the discussions I think a lot of times we don't have because there's this like dunk on culture.
Right.
So like, what is it you'd like someone in good faith? Right. They're not a psychopath. They're someone who's really trying to make the best decision.
Okay, so you said something earlier. You said, I think both sides care about kids. I don't know. I think the percentage would be more people on the right care for kids than those on the left.
See, this whole woke phenomenon that Schultz sometimes seems to dabble in often lacks a crucial element, a grounded understanding of reality and traditional values. We've seen Schultz bring on questionable figures in the past, and this recent episode just further solidified my skepticism about his so-called based persona. PBD rightly pointed out the absurdity of blaming parents when a child, particularly a teenager, transitions. He touched upon the potential pressures and influences, especially in places like Hollywood, where it almost seems like a trend. And this is where my own opinion comes in. We need to be honest about the social contagion aspect of these issues, particularly amongst young people. Are we really having open and honest discussions about the psychological development of children and the potential for peer influence in these complex identity issues? Or are we simply rushing to affirm every feeling without critical examination? PBD also highlighted the genuine empathy he feels for children because kids aren't fully developed. They're impressionable and they're navigating a world that's throwing a lot of confusing messages their way. He also expressed empathy for parents, sharing a powerful anecdote about a father grappling with his son's announcement. This resonated deeply with me. We need to have compassion for families trying to navigate these uncharted waters, often feeling lost and unsure of what's best for their child. But here's where the woke mindset, as exemplified by Schultz's initial comments, often falls short. It tends to prioritize the individual's feelings in the moment without fully considering the long-term implications and the broader societal context. PBD astutely brought up the idea of agendas being pushed in schools. And let's be real, folks. Many of us are seeing this firsthand. Our kids are being exposed to ideologies that undermine traditional values and parental authority. This brings me to a point that PBD touched on, and it's something I feel incredibly strongly about: the state of education. He made a very bold and I believe necessary statement about homeschooling. In today's environment, if you have the means, I genuinely believe it's becoming increasingly crucial to take control of your children's education. The infiltration of these ideologies into public and even private schools is deeply concerning. We're seeing curricula that prioritize trendy social justice narratives over foundational knowledge and critical thinking. PBD's point about avoiding indoctrination camps might sound strong, but for many parents, it reflects a legitimate fear. Now, some might say, that's extreme. Not everyone can homeschool, and I understand that. But PBD's underlying message is about the immense responsibility of parenthood in this era. If you're entrusting your children to institutions that may be actively undermining your values, you need to be incredibly vigilant and involved. Do your research on schools. Know what your kids are being taught and have those tough conversations at home.
People on the right have kids than those on the left. Unless the poor, where it's kind of like because of the benefits that you have that you're paying that's a different structure I'm talking about. You know, when you break that down and then you come to people, you know, you read these marriage books, How to Have a Great Marriage, written by a person with 6 divorces. Yeah, because I have experience. You know, hey, this is how you should raise your kids. How many kids do you have? I don't have any kids, but this is how you should raise them.
Right.
I'm sorry, buddy.
The conversation also touched on the broader political landscape and the fundamental differences in how the left and right approach issues concerning children. PBD didn't mince words, stating that it's not even close which side truly prioritizes the well-being of children. While some might find his language strong, I believe he's hitting on a core truth. One side seems increasingly willing to prioritize adult ideologies and agendas over the innocence and development of children. Think about it. The debates around parental rights in education, the discussions about age-appropriate content, the push for early and often irreversible interventions for minors struggling with gender identity, these are not minor disagreements. They reflect fundamentally different worldviews about the role of parents, the vulnerability of children, and the very definition of childhood. And this is where the empathy argument comes into play again. The left often demands empathy for certain groups while seemingly dismissing the concerns and perspectives of parents who hold traditional values. PBD asked a crucial question: what empathy is being extended to parents in these situations? What understanding is being shown for their deeply held beliefs and their concerns about the well-being of their children? Often, instead of empathy, they are met with accusations of bigotry and intolerance. We need to foster a culture of genuine dialogue where differing viewpoints can be expressed and debated respectfully without resorting to immediate accusations and dunk-on tactics. PBD tried to create that space with Schultz, but it became clear that there was a fundamental disconnect in their underlying assumptions. Ultimately, the exchange between PBD and Schultz served as a stark reminder of the ideological battleground we are currently navigating, particularly when it comes to our children. As conservative Republicans, we need to stand firm in our principles, advocate for parental rights, and prioritize the healthy development and well-being of the next generation. We need to be informed, engaged, and willing to have the tough conversations, even when they are uncomfortable. So what do you all think? Were you as struck by this exchange as I was? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation going and continue to support voices like Patrick Bet David who are unafraid to speak truth to power, even when it means challenging those who are seemingly part of our own side. Thanks for tuning in to the Black Coffee Podcast, and we'll catch you next time.